Syracuse basketball has a number of breakout candidates for this upcoming season. And hey, if all goes well, perhaps the Orange do find themselves back into the NCAA tournament.
You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into Locked On Syracuse. I'm Jackson Holzer, and thank you for making us your first listen of every single day here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, whether you're watching on YouTube or you're listening on Apple, Spotify, whatever audio platform that you decide to use. This is Locked On Syracuse. And on today's show, we are going over Syracuse basketball breakout candidates. We're going to talk about the top freshmen coming into Syracuse this upcoming season, Sadiq White. And of course, we all know Kiyan Anthony, the son of Syracuse legend Carmelo Anthony. We'll talk about William Kyle. We'll talk about Tyler Betsey. And while we're describing how they could break out for Syracuse basketball, we'll give our unrealistic expectations, an unrealistic breakout scenario, a sort of realistic breakout scenario, and then what can't happen with any of these floor players if Syracuse wants to make the NCAA tournament this upcoming season. All that and more here on today's show. And before we get to everything, this episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. So the other day, we did a Syracuse football breakout candidate list. Syracuse football, of course, they have over 100 players under scholarship. That's obviously a very big roster. And so on the podcast, we were able to name 8 to 10 players that could break out for the team the upcoming season because you got such a big roster. There are so many different players that can emerge. With Syracuse basketball, they have 13 players on their roster, and it's basketball. It makes sense. The rosters are a lot smaller than they are in football, of course. So we're not going to have 8 to 10 breakout candidates on this podcast. On this one, we're going to discuss 4 players that could break out for Syracuse basketball. And right off the bat, I am not going to count Donnie Freeman as a breakout candidate for Syracuse. And the reason why is because I think he's already good. And if you're already good, I don't think you can really be considered a breakout candidate with him. It's more like, what is his second year going to bring? How good can Donnie Freeman really be? So he is not on this list. But the first player we are going to discuss definitely fits the profile of someone that could break out for Syracuse this upcoming season. And I'm talking about Tyler Betsey, a 6'8", 225-pound forward. He's entering his true sophomore season, so he has 1 year of college basketball under his belt. And Syracuse got Tyler Betsey from the transfer portal after a year at Cincinnati. His true freshman season, I'll admit, it was not impressive. And we'll go over the numbers in just a second, but that's kind of the point of a breakout. A breakout is someone that either comes out of nowhere and just takes a significant step forward in their development, or they burst onto the scene right away. They're a recruit in high school, and in their true freshman season, immediately they hit the ground running and they're really good. With Tyler Betsey, of course, this is someone who wasn't very good last year. His stats, 34 games played, about 11 minutes per game, 3 points, 1.5 rebounds, less than half assists per game. His efficiency numbers weren't great. 36% field goal shooting, 32% from the three-point line, just 54% from the free throw line. Yikes. Not good for a 6'8" forward there. And he had an Evan Maya defensive rating of positive 0.47, which is positive, but still not exactly he doesn't exactly qualify as an elite defender based on that grade. You're looking for at least a 1 on the Evan Maya scale in order to be a high quality defender. 0.47. It's not good, but it's also not terrible. Why is Tyler Betsey a breakout candidate after I just told you how he wasn't very good a year ago? Well, he was a top 50 overall recruit in the country in the 2024 recruiting cycle. So he's got potential. And 24/7 Sports basketball recruiting analyst Adam Finkelstein, he wrote a brief scouting report about Tyler Betsey back in 2023. So it was a couple of years earlier, right? But it's still there. And if you're looking for it, you can literally search up Tyler Betsey recruiting 24/7 Sports. You simply click on his profile, scroll down a little bit, and you can find exactly what Adam Finkelstein had to say about him. But to summarize it, Tyler Betsey's got good size, he's very smooth, and he's got a good shot. We did not see that shot translate last year over at Cincinnati, but sometimes it takes time for a player to make that transition from high school basketball to college basketball. It's just different, right? Going from playing someone who you're going to see in fifth period, right? Fifth period biology class to all of a sudden someone who's also looking to go to the NBA because they're playing in the Big 12 just like you. It's a little different, right? And number two, he's got the opportunity for playing time. And players, if they want to break out, they need that opportunity for playing time. Obviously, if you're not on the floor, you can't really do a whole lot. Nate Kings, for now, projects to be the starting small forward for Syracuse, but he's only 6'5". And Tyler Betsey, he already provides more size and length than Nate Kings. So if he can take that step forward in his development, if he can break out, I could see him surpassing Nate Kings, especially if Nate Kings' efficiency last year at 45% three-point shooting. If that goes down, Tyler Betsey gets a little better. Perhaps you see a little swap there in the starting lineup. Let's get to the scenarios. Unrealistic breakout, a realistic breakout, and just what cannot happen for Syracuse. Unrealistic. Tyler Betsey emerges as one of, if not the best, 3-and-D player in the ACC next season. He becomes a 40% three-point shooter, and with his length and his size, he becomes an elite defender, possibly getting all defensive team votes in the ACC this upcoming season. Easily gets into Syracuse's starting lineup, averages double figures, and we're looking at Tyler Betsey as one of the great gems that Alex Klein and Adrian Autry found this offseason. A realistic breakout is that he improves his shooting a little bit. It goes up 5% overall. So instead of shooting 35.7% from the field, that was his exact field goal percentage last season, he shoots above 40%, close to 41%. And he becomes a capable three-point shooter. Last year, he was 32% overall, just 27% in Big 12 play. So maybe this upcoming season, he shoots 37% overall and 35% in ACC play. That, I think, is a realistic breakout expectation for a guy like Tyler Betsey. And what can't happen is that he never fulfills his potential. His shot simply does not get better. His defense still remains a lot to be desired. And we start wondering why this guy is even seeing the floor at all at times during next season. So that's for Tyler Betsey, that's your unrealistic breakout expectation, your realistic breakout expectation, and what cannot happen for Syracuse if they want to make the NCAA tournament this upcoming year. What are your thoughts? Do you think that Tyler Betsey will break out for Syracuse basketball and become one of the best 3-and-D players in the conference? I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Coming up, we're going to talk about Syracuse's starting center for this upcoming season, William Kyle, and analyze whether or not he could break out for the Orange this upcoming season. So stick with me here on Locked On Syracuse. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is not just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and you start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. This is Locked On Syracuse. I'm Jackson Holzer, and we still got plenty to talk about here on today's show, going over Syracuse basketball breakout candidates. But before we continue with William Kyle and later on with Sadiq White and Kiyan Anthony, I just want to shout out all those who continue to subscribe to Locked On Syracuse each and every day. Thank you all so much. You all are truly the best. Now, if you are watching or listening to this and you haven't subscribed already, that's okay. If you could just do me a favor, maybe you enjoy this podcast a lot, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It helps the channel grow and reach all Syracuse Orange fans. We're actually closing in on 4,000, so I appreciate you each and every day subscribing to Locked On Syracuse. Let's continue this conversation. Syracuse basketball breakout candidates for this upcoming season. Earlier, we talked about Tyler Betsey. Let's go over William Kyle, 6'9", 215-pound center. He is entering his final season in college basketball because he's going to lose his eligibility at the end of next season. He is not your typical breakout candidate because you can make the argument that William Kyle has already broken out and that he's simply looking to rebound into form, because in his first two seasons at South Dakota State, William Kyle averaged 11 points per game, 6 rebounds per game, and nearly 1.5 blocks per game. And oh, by the way, he was the Summit League Defensive Player of the Year in 2024. However, he parlayed that success over at South Dakota State and got himself a roster spot at UCLA, a historic high major basketball program. And he could not really carve out a significant role with the Bruins last season. He played in 32 games, but he averaged less than 10 minutes per game. And like we talked about earlier with Tyler Betsey, it's hard to you can't really break out if you're not on the floor. So William Kyle playing less than 10 minutes per game, it's hard for him to really do all that much statistically. And so his numbers don't really wow you. They do not jump off the page at all. But the reason why I consider him a breakout candidate is because we have not seen him do it like he did at South Dakota State at the high major level. So maybe William Kyle can be closer to the player he was at South Dakota State than he was at UCLA this past season. Or maybe he was pretty much the same and he just didn't get enough minutes last year at UCLA. Why is Kyle a breakout candidate? Well, it's very similar to Tyler Betsey. Tyler Betsey's second reason, I should say, because Tyler Betsey, we mentioned number one, how he was a former top 50 recruit, so there's potential. With William Kyle, there's opportunity. There is opportunity for William Kyle to be Syracuse's starting center this upcoming season, the entire year. That is certainly on the table for him if he stays healthy. This is his best chance and also his final chance to prove that he can be a starting caliber big man in the ACC, because the other two centers behind him, do they really wow you? Ibrahim Soare from Georgia Tech, true freshman Sheffing Diawara, does he wow you at all? Not really. William Kyle has his best chance and his final chance to be Syracuse's starting center, like I just said 30 seconds ago. This is it for him. Unrealistic breakout for William Kyle. He averages 10 points and 7 rebounds, and he makes all ACC defensive team, wins ACC Defensive Player of the Year, and becomes easily one of the best or second best or third best centers in the conference. if not maybe the entire country. That is the unrealistic breakout. I am not expecting that William Kyle is going to do anything like that. I think that is an unfair expectation for him, but that's kind of the point of this exercise. Unrealistic breakout, realistic breakout, and just what can happen. Let's go to the realistic breakout, which is that William Kyle becomes a reliable starting big man in the ACC. He plays about 20 to 25 minutes per game. He chips in 5 points, 5 rebounds, and he provides quality defense. He protects the rim. Okay, maybe that could happen. I'm not entirely sure, but we'll see. I think that is on the table, and I think if he can do that, Syracuse has a shot to make the NCAA tournament. Because you're looking at their starting lineup right now. Nate George is a plus starter. I think J.J. Starling is a plus starter. I think Nate King's, as of right now, I consider him kind of a neutral starter where I don't think he's a net negative, but I also don't know how much of a net positive he will be relative to everyone else in the ACC as a starting small forward. Power forward Donnie Freeman, I think that's a plus starter. But your center spot, it's a glaring hole right now. Maybe if William Kyle is just average to above average, that'll be enough for Syracuse to get over the hump and make the NCAA tournament. That's why I've considered him the most important transfer on the team and arguably the most important player on the team this upcoming season. And then what can't happen with William Kyle at Syracuse this upcoming year? William Kyle proves that he cannot thrive in a power conference. And here's the thing with William Kyle. The timing with him when Syracuse got him is very interesting. He was the first player that Syracuse got from the transfer portal. And I remember having a debate with you all about this when they got William Kyle. Because usually, whether it's the transfer portal or you want to talk pro sports and free agency and trades, there's a pecking order. The stars come off the board first. The role players come off the board second. And then after that, you got your depth players. And the reason is pretty simple. It's because every team, whether it's college or pro, they have a budget. And they only have so much money. Now, in college sports, I always argue you can always ask for more money, but that's neither here nor there. The point is that everyone has money, a certain amount that either they're allowed to spend or in the case of pro sports, there's a cap that you're allowed to spend. Everyone's got the money. Well, you want all your money that's possibly available for that star player. And I think we can all agree that as of right now, William Kyle is not a star player. And that is why he is on this list of breakout candidates. You can't be a star and be a breakout candidate, right? You can't. So it was very interesting why Syracuse went out and got him first, because you know that William Kyle costs money. Do I know exactly how much he went for? No, I don't have sourcing on that. I do not know how much he went for, but it costs something. And what I remember saying to you all at the time was this, with the timing of William Kyle and getting him. I don't have a problem with it as long as it doesn't prevent them from getting a better player somewhere else. That's it. That's what I said at the time, and I stand by it. That being said, if William Kyle struggles and he does not perform for Syracuse, well, I'm going to start questioning the timing of that move and why Syracuse had to go out and get him first. Because maybe they could have upgraded somewhere else. You know, I like Nate Kings, but maybe you could have gotten an even better small forward if you had not decided to go get William Kyle first. Because everyone costs money. But we'll find out, right? Hopefully, William Kyle can at least have a realistic breakout. And hey, if he has an unrealistic breakout where he becomes one of the best centers in the ACC, if not the country, that would be great too. What do you think? You think William Kyle's going to break out for Syracuse this upcoming year? Comment your thoughts in the comment section below. Coming up, we'll talk about the top freshmen for Syracuse coming in this upcoming season. So stick with me here on Locked On Syracuse. Back to what I said earlier on in the podcast. Breakouts can happen right away because a player is unproven out of high school. So we got to see what they got when they get to college. That means true freshmen, to me, are considered breakouts. There are exceptions to the rule. Like Cooper Flagg, to me, is not necessarily wasn't necessarily a breakout for Duke last year because he was the number one player in the country. You kind of get my point. So these two players that we're going to talk about coming up, I consider them to be breakout candidates for Syracuse this upcoming season. Of course, I'm talking about the two top freshmen that the Orange brought in. Sadiq White, 6'8" forward, 195 pounds, elite 4-star recruit, top 30 in the country over on 24/7 Sports. He's explosive. He's athletic. I think he could thrive in Syracuse's, new look offense this upcoming season where they're going to play with a lot more pace. So that should definitely help out a guy like Sadiq White. He is also regarded as one of the best defenders in the 2025 recruiting cycle. I think an unrealistic breakout for Sadiq White, which I guess means an unrealistic true freshman season, is that he is a first-team freshman All-American this upcoming year and becomes a front runner, if not downright or outright wins ACC Defensive Player of the Year. And that ultimately Sadiq White, after a phenomenal freshman season, he either decides to enter the 2026 NBA draft as a first-round pick, or he decides to return to college basketball, whether it's Syracuse or another school for that matter. But he returns to college basketball as one of the best returning power forwards in the country for the 2026-27 season. That's an unrealistic breakout for Sadiq White. Realistically, what I think could happen is that he shows flashes of what he can be this upcoming season, where he's got highlight-worthy plays galore on both offense and defense. He gets votes to be an all-conference defender at minimum. His shot, because I don't think it's fully developed right now, it kind of holds him back from really taking that next step in development. But that being said, he would go into the following season as someone who we're saying, hey, Donnie Freeman's probably not coming back for a third year in all likelihood. But hey, Sadiq White, he's ready. He's going to be the starting power forward for Syracuse in 2026-27. He was solid as a true freshman. He is someone that, hey, with more of a role and another year of development, he's ready to take the next step for Syracuse. That, to me, is a realistic outcome for Sadiq White. What can happen is that he doesn't really contribute at all on offense, and his defense, while it was really good in high school basketball, doesn't really translate to college basketball, and he starts struggling on the defensive end. And if he starts struggling on defense, is what I will be saying about Sadiq White. So that's it for him. Unrealistic breakout, first-team freshman All-American, front runner for ACC Defensive Player of the Year. Realistic, shows flashes, looks pretty promising in maybe slightly limited playing time. And we go into the 26-27 season thinking that, hey, this guy's going to be our starting power forward and he's going to be really good. And what can happen is that he just doesn't really do a whole lot. He doesn't really contribute much on offense. His numbers don't look all that impressive as far as efficiency. And his defense is maybe just average instead of being really good right off the bat. Then you got Kiyan Anthony, another elite 4-star recruit, top 30 in the country over on On3. Keep in mind, it's not their On3 industry rankings. It's just On3 by itself. He is known as one of the best pure scorers in this high school recruiting cycle. Unrealistic breakout. I think it's pretty simple with a guy like Kiyan Anthony, considering who his father is. Well, how about that? That's the unrealistic breakout for Kiyan Anthony, is that he is just like his dad, Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo, if you are a younger watcher or listener to this podcast, I'm pretty young, by the way. You could probably tell. Then here's the chapter, song, and verse of Carmelo Anthony at Syracuse in 15 seconds or less. Ready? He came to Syracuse as a true freshman for the 2002-2003 season, was the best player in college basketball, and he led Syracuse to its only national championship that season. How about that? So 23 years later, his son, Kiyan Anthony, comes in, and he does essentially the same thing. He is the best player in college basketball right away. And I guess it's unrealistic, so he leads Syracuse to a national title. I think we'd all be thrilled, right? We're all Syracuse fans for the most part. But realistically, is that similar to Sadiq White, he shows that he is primed to take a big step forward in development as a true sophomore in 2026-27. He's got a good year. His efficiency numbers look pretty good, but maybe they can get a little bit better. He can develop other aspects of his game, like his defense. Unfortunately for Kiyan Anthony, he's got a couple of guys ahead of him, right? He's not going to, in all likelihood, he will not be in the starting lineup right away. J.J. Starling is still there. Nate Kings, for now, is at least going to be in the starting lineup. And if they're playing well, J.J. Starling and Nate Kings, it's going to be very difficult for Kiyan Anthony to ever crack the starting lineup. It's possible. I mean, injuries could happen. We don't wish injury upon anyone, but that's a real thing. That could happen. That could force Kiyan Anthony into the starting lineup, or J.J. Starling underperforms, or Nate Kings underperforms. But if both of them are performing well, I don't see how Kiyan Anthony really cracks the starting lineup. That being said, both J.J. Starling and Nate Kings are out of eligibility after this season is over. And so that's why I say, hey, maybe Kiyan Anthony will be ready to be a starter in 2026-27, very similar to Sadiq White. And then what can happen is that he's known as one of the better scorers in high school basketball. What can happen is that all of a sudden he gets to college and he struggles to score. Think of it this way. If you're known for something going from high school to college, and you struggle at that very thing that you are maybe known for, you could be in trouble. It's like how Tyler Betsey was known as a really good shooter in high school basketball and did not shoot well as a true freshman. I'm not writing him off. That's why I have him as a potential breakout candidate, but hey, it's a little concerning. Kiyan Anthony, if he cannot score at a relatively decent rate as a true freshman, I'm not going to write him off, but it just can't happen for Syracuse if they want to make the NCAA tournament this season. You know, the season that's coming up in November. And also the other aspects of his game, well, if they're not fully developed, it looks a whole lot worse if he's not doing the one thing that he's known for doing. Get my drift there? It's kind of like Elijah Chopamore. Kiyan Anthony's a better recruit than Elijah Chopamore, but Chopamore last season, I remember having on Jamie Shaw on this podcast, On 3 Recruiting Expert, and he said flat out, if Elijah Chopamore shoots, he will play. If he doesn't shoot, he will not play. Well, guess what? Elijah Chopamore did not shoot the ball a ton, or well, I should say. Maybe he should have gotten more playing time to see if he could shoot, considering the team wasn't very good. And then he left in the transfer portal, and we'll see. I think he went to Utah, so we'll see what happens with him. But that's kind of my point. You got to be known for something in high school, and you should be pretty good at it, even going into college basketball. So hopefully he's at least pretty good at scoring as a true freshman. If he's not, they're not going to make the NCAA tournament in all likelihood. So that just about does it for the breakout candidates for Syracuse basketball. As far as what is coming up on the podcast in the future, tomorrow we will be back with another episode. Football recruiting expert Brian Smith. He ranked the best head coaches in the country at recruiting, just purely recruiting. And so we're going to discuss if he had Fran Brown ranked, and if Fran Brown is ranked on his list, where was he ranked? And so we'll talk about that tomorrow on the podcast. And then on Thursday, this will be a late night podcast. I'm talking maybe 10:30, 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern. So if you're on the West Coast, great. If you're on the East Coast and you're still up, you can watch or you can listen, or you can just wait until the morning to consume your Locked On Syracuse podcast. But we'll have on 24/7 Sports Syracuse insider Mike McAllister. We're going to discuss football recruiting, maybe some basketball recruiting as well. And so that'll be, once again, a late night podcast. That's what's coming up on Locked On Syracuse in the near future. And thank you for making Locked On Syracuse your first listen today. For your second listen, you can check out the Locked On Portal Show with football recruiting expert Brian Smith, who's got the latest rumors and signings each and every day. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find the Portal Podcast on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. And folks, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening. If you like this podcast, be sure to hit that like button. If you really enjoy the podcast, be sure to hit subscribe. Tell all your friends about Locked On Syracuse, and I will see you all again soon.